record the rest of the class. So yeah, so after just reading How to Take Your Parents to College, what are any other thoughts? So we got the culture shock aspect of it, right? We got the difference of somebody being in a situation or an environment that is unfamiliar and them trying to navigate it, right? I did want to before we continue discussing, I did want to share. I wanted to look at something. So if we look at the way this is laid out, right? There's a lot of exposition. There's a lot of sentences that inside there are little bits of dialogue, right? And dialogue are when people talk. But then toward the end, right, the second part here, right, it's basically a lot of dialogue, right? She shows us the conversation that she's having with her mother, right? It shows, and it's all of it is this dialogue of them talking. So I want you to see that as you're thinking of ways to craft your stories or craft your essays, that there sometimes could be an opportunity for dialogue to be inside of it, right? That's something that she used. I thought effectively she could have been telling us about the mother, but for the fact that she gives us again dialogue, it tells us also something about her mother, right? Like here, she's like, I don't understand these words using, intersectionalities, gendered, and theoretical framework. For her, it was like, I don't really understand what these things are. When she turns to her mother's response is like, you're right, you're screwed, and maybe the mother's joking a little bit with her, but it gives us a sense of the mother's personality and who the mother is. So I wanted to point that out in terms of the structure of the technique that that Janine Capacruzet is using to tell her story, to tell her essay, to write her essay. That dialogue was one of the aspects or elements that she used inside of it. So I wanted to show that. So what do you think about dialogue? Do you think, I'm telling you these things, but what was your experience in hearing her speak and her mother speak? Did it make a difference, or did a great way to portray emotions to the readers? Yes. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, it's a great way to show emotions, a great way to show.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's good when you use those techniques about like how do you talk, because that's the way we talk in a daily basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you talk with somebody and then you are telling your friends like, oh, my mom said this, and then I said this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a different, like, I don't know, in the writing I understand like it's like a different technique
Mm-hmm.
to communicate, or you can also picture the other person, like how he's talking or she's talking. Um, and in terms of the whole essay,
Mm-hmm.
I relate with. Well, I'm sure like a lot of us we relate when back in time we went to the first time to the school, and then we were all scared, like about meeting new friends, your new school, um, your new teachers. Like I feel like we all relate with that, and even more because in the essay I am Latino, and then the parents are Latinos. They are from Cuba, so us coming from another countries, it's even more interesting because we are not used to the system of work of this country. So everything is even more scary for us.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I relate with the essay.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I think even the use of the word, like for example, I know she said that her mom said like, oh, mamita. I'm like, as a fellow Latino, I feel like it makes it a little bit more relatable.
Yeah. So it's interesting that not only like the vocabulary, but the language that that the person in the essay uses, it's about that, right? It's either about making a cultural connection with people who are from the culture, right? Or and it also sends some people who don't understand it to the dictionary, right? To be able to understand it. But it is that it's intentional, right? Because she didn't have to use those words, right? She could have used grandmother, right? Instead of, my mother, my this, and my grandmother, but she uses the word abuela, and that is a different way of her also communicating to create a cultural connection. So this idea, that's why I said at the very beginning, Ariel, is very good, observation that it's about culture shock, because there is, she said, a cultural thing, a cultural element. It is about culture. It is culture about what you're used to, meaning, used to the idea of family being together and doing things together and traveling in a herd together. That's one thing, but also about culture in terms of like where she comes from. Those are different values, right? The idea of the value. Many of us, whether it's Latino culture or many African cultures, from what I understand, Bangladeshi, Indian cultures, there's a lot of cultures that believe that you stay with your family until when? When do you leave your family?
I mean, for me, I'm in a Puerto Rican household. As soon as you turn 18, you out of there. And then
But I think you're a New York, it's just a New York thing, right?
yeah, it's a New York thing. But in reality, I feel like from what I've experienced, even my cousins and everybody, my friends, like they're still there. They're still in grandma's house. They're still in mommy's house. I feel like the Hispanic parents don't know when to let us go sometimes.
Right. Well, and there's an expectation that you only leave when you're married, right?
Right.
That when you get married is when you leave the house, right? Otherwise, why would you leave?
Yeah.
Right? There's no reason to leave, right? That's the idea for many cultures. I know, and some of the students here, a student of mine was talking about the same thing, was from Bangladesh, in another class, was saying, that the same thing with them, that they stay home and stay with the family until it's time to form their own families, and then they leave and they go and they do that. But there is this understanding, it's a cultural thing that goes across many cultures, right? But in American culture is very much so this idea of 18, you're an adult, you should be thinking about leaving. Or the other thing is very much the separation that happens around 18 when you go away to college, right? And you leave your family and you have to figure out, how to wash your own laundry and whatever, if you haven't been doing it already. So there's that. So what I want us to do is, I'm going to break us up into groups, right? And so I want you to talk about that in your group, right? I want you to be able to identify at least three things that happen, right? And just talk amongst yourselves, three things in the essay that show, excuse me, three examples, right? That show the difference of the cultural difference. Like, what did the family do? What was her experience, right? And remember, we're talking not only about like not only culture in terms of like the fact that they were Latinos, but like just the activities, whatever it is that you would identify as a cultural difference with them. Okay. And so I just want you to talk about it. We're just going to give you like, like 5 or 10 minutes, like maybe 10 minutes together, and just talk amongst your groups, unmute yourselves, and just share. And so somebody begin and say, I'm going to, here's one example of that. So that's part one. Part one is um, that one, identify three. So the group has to come up together, agree on at least three examples. You should all write this down, right? Write down what your examples are for yourselves so you have them, right? And maybe one person from each group will report back to the rest of us what they found. And maybe there'll be lots of overlap. The same way with the words, like in the last paragraph, we encountered indecipherable, which we all know means like you can't make any sense of. Quintessential means like the most perfect example of, right, the essence of something. And mantra is like a phrase that you repeat over and over to yourself, like a belief to reassure yourself and to follow, like something you follow. So we encountered all of those. So there was a lot of overlap with the vocabulary. Let's see if there's overlap with this. So that's one. So one is, I want you to find three examples in the essay of this culture shift or this culture clash or this culture shock. And then the second thing, find a share, and some of you have begun, is there anything in your own experience, right, that you all can relate to in this article, if there's something that connects to you personally. So part one is identifying 3 things inside of it, and then part 2 of the discussion is identifying at least 1 or 2 things that the group can identify with the article from a personal experience. Okay, and relate. Yes, thank you, Samantha, for putting it in the chat for us. Okay, so now the breakout rooms is just going to be, it's going to be random. So, and I think there are 20, yes, and right, so there should be about 5 of you in each room. So I'm going to hit it, and then I'll bring everybody back. And Victor, you will probably end up in a breakout room, but if you feel like, but I could bring you back here, and then I could put you in a room if you want to migrate and move around. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So you're there.
Yes, Professor?
How you doing?
Doing great. And you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome.
So
I saw that you, go ahead, sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that thank you for adding me to the class. I saw that. Yesterday I forgot to send out the email, mainly because I just got kind of caught up with like talking about a presentation with the writing center. But I'll totally send everyone out an email today. Should have done it this morning, but I kind of woke up late.
An email, what about like your
just an email stating the times I'm available at the writing center so they can come and see me. That's it.
Okay. All right, that's cool. Yeah, so just I'm just going to take this moment to maybe they could have their time to talk.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes what, just think if we were in the classroom, my fear with all of these, with breakout rooms, is that particularly online, right, is that like if you didn't notice, there was one student that didn't didn't join it. I guess I don't know what the hell she was doing. She was probably doing something and realized they needed to sign in to join the room. So it's always like the risk you run is that there may be people that talk more. I mean, you already see there's some folks that are already, are comfortable being off camera, and those are the ones on camera, and those are the ones that participate more than the ones that are not on camera. And so this moment is always a little anxiety because I don't, I want them to feel like they have their time and space, but I also don't want like one person to be doing all the work in a breakout room. So we'll see how that goes. So one of the things that I didn't do, because I don't know if you know, but assistant professors that are untenured have this giant project that we have to do at the beginning of the semester, which is our portfolios. And so our portfolios were all due last week, and so we spent a lot of time. It's a lot of work to do it. Bet. And then there was all these technical issues with the systems. So I was really consumed getting that thing done, and I finally finished it.
Congratulations!
I stayed up all night Thursday night, didn't sleep because I had to finish it, and I submitted it at 8:52 on Friday morning.
Okay.
8:52 a.m. So, and just sharing all that. So I've been like behind. So what I'm gonna do is read all of their work and begin their comments. And so, sometimes when we're in, just what I would do is maybe I could ask you to read through some of them so you could just get a sense of their writing, right? And also get a sense of my responses to them. Because what I do is I like to try to respond on about the grammar. Like I'm just thinking of like one student wrote tryna, Tryna, right?
Oh.
Instead of trying to, right?
Mhm.
And so sometimes I understand that in terms of like texting and all that stuff, that it may be okay to do these shortcuts, and I understand what they're saying. So it's not like I don't understand what that is,
Mhm.
but to be able to understand, for them to be able to distinguish, to make sure they know how to say trying to and not trying to,
Yeah.
right? And stuff like that. I see some spelling errors, like some people that use this that are not using there and there correctly. Just from reading over their work, I
Yeah.
could see some of those things. But what I do is I like to I copy and paste those assignments, put them into a Google Doc, and then I put it with comments, and I comment on them, and then I just give them the link.
Mhm.
They could take a look at it. So I'm hoping by Friday I could have those things done. I know your time, so I say don't feel like you need to look at them, but I might say maybe instead of looking at 5 assignments, look at this one. And
Okay.
oops, let's see, David.
Oh, hey, David.
Did you get kicked out, David? Or are you just joining us?
Maybe he disconnected because of internet,
Yeah.
and then it reconnected into this.
Yeah. Although he would have to have signed out of the class. Like I would have to admit him if he was kicked out. David, can you hear us? Maybe you could respond to the chat if you. Yes, now I can hear you.
Hey, I left because we're supposed to be talking to each other in there, right?
Right. And nobody was talking?
No, I'm asking a question. Nobody responding.
What group were you in? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Okay, yeah. That's the challenge.
If I was to join, if I joined, does it join the same room?
Let me see. I could see you were probably in room 4, right? Because I'm looking at.
I'm joining. Tell me too.
I'm gonna put you in a different room. Let's see if I could do this.
No, wait. Can you just explain to me one more time what you want us to record? I could just do it alone because I'm asking them and they're not telling me that.
Yeah. So one thing was for you to be able to. So one thing is to find 3 examples from the story of that culture shift or that culture shock, right? What was the cultural disconnect of the cultural? For 3 examples, that they experienced. And then the other thing, is there anything in the story that you relate to your personal life that you think you could relate to? So any of those culture shifts or any of that, but something that you relate to yourselves.
All right, that's it.
All right.
Yeah. So one thing I relate to and 3 things that they went through. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you.
And let's see. I'm going to Victor. I think I'm going to go into room 4.
Okay.
And
would you like to put me in a room as well?
yeah,
I would
let's
enjoy
see.
that.
Yeah, I'll put you in a room. Let's see. I'll put you back in room 3. Okay. Well, it's not letting me do. Let me put you in. Shoot. Hello, room 4. This is Logan and Divine and Nahum. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how's it going? Have you guys had a chance to talk? Are you writing in silence or what's happening?
I think everybody just took the chance to write in silence. I think everybody's still forming their ideas.
No, yeah, I'm forming my ideas right now. I'm just working in silence, trying to find the answer.
Okay. So remember, it's like 3 things from the text, and at least 1 or 2 things that you identify yourselves.
Yeah.
All right, Logan, what about you? How are you doing?
I'm all right.
Okay, you're working in silence as well.
Yep.
Okay, just wanted to check in on all of you because it's a small room just with 3 people.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Hey, Brian. How'd it go?
Pretty good, pretty good. We got a couple things. I was just actually looking at the essay.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna bring folks together in within a minute or so. Yep. Yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
accidentally came back into the main room and I didn't
Okay.
know how to get back into the breakout room.
Oh.
But
you-
Belong has our things written down.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Yeah, the challenge with doing breakout rooms, broadcast to everybody. Just writing a note to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, Victor, our tutor, just went in. Now, were you here last week, 2 weeks ago? You were the first class.
I believe I was, yes, in class last week.
I mean, 2 weeks ago, so we've only had 1 class before this one.
Yeah. So actually, I actually had a couple big issues with the laptop that I'm currently using. It crashed at one point last week, and I've just been having a lot of trouble with it. I have to go up to school and grab a loaner.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of just funny because like I actually just got this laptop within the last year,
Mhm.
and it's a MacBook and everything, and like I don't know, I would have expected a little bit better quality. But I'm gonna head up to school and grab a loaner because I don't want to have any kind of problems with it again. But I do want to say I think one of the last assignments I didn't do. I'm going to work on that today and hand it in immediately. I'm not entirely sure how I get graded for being late and stuff, but
Mhm.
you know, I want to have it at least in, even if I lose points.
Yeah. Well, I think that no, definitely submitted. I mean, certain things will be graded, certain things will not be graded. There's going to be, the next assignment will be a graded assignment. And so there's going to be a series of graded assignments and a series of ungraded assignments and a series of formal essays. And so the formal essays are graded and that's it. I mean, that I mean that's it. You'll have opportunities to, but it remind me to talk about this with it in the big group.
Okay.
So just talk about grading and upcoming assignments.
Okay.
Right. I said I was gonna bring everybody back for a minute. And I think it gives them 60 seconds, yes, to leave their breakout room. Right now it's giving people the option to leave, and in 15 seconds, this is gonna close them all and bring everybody back to the main room. So if that was your first experience with breakout rooms is you notice one of the things that happens is you'll get a
That is like trivia. Like you have a certain amount of minutes to get it done and then just get kicked out.
yeah. They give you a 1 minute warning. I gave a bit of broadcast warning, and then I did the real 1 minute, and then you wrap up and you get kicked out if you don't finish it. But anyway, so let's hear back from folks. Maybe let's say from one group. I know we lost the numbers. I have to figure out. Oh, I should have done a screenshot. That's what I could do. But I think it doesn't do the screenshot of that piece. But maybe group number one. Did you tell what group number you were in or no?
I don't know what group it was in, but if you want, we can go first.
Yes. Why don't you go first, Samantha?
Literally, we was number 5, Samantha.
Okay. So
Samantha, for some reason, you're dropping in and out. You were clear up until you started reporting.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Okay. So what we wrote was our example of culture shock in the story is the part where the main character had to do an assignment alone and started to panic. She called her mom for help and reassurance. This shows us that they are very family oriented. They are very family oriented and solve every problem together. So her being a college alone and being the first in her family to be there, it was a little difficult for her to get help, and she's officially on her own. Another example is the fact that there are Spanish speaking families. So coming into an all English environment is definitely culture shocking for the whole family. Also, it is like the language barrier for them. Lastly, their environment itself from a college aspect is very different from a living environment because of them having to adapt. There's different languages, slang, abbreviations, and that's pretty much what we got so far.
Okay, cool. Well, you got good work done together. Excellent. Well, thank you, Samantha and her group. Who was in your group? Miguel is giving a thumbs up. Were you in the group? I guess
Yeah.
Joshua
And Ariel.
and Ariel. Okay, cool.
Joshua.
Excellent. All right. Does anybody want to report? And Jala, were you in that group too? Yeah, Jala. All right. Anybody else want to report for their group? Adrian?
Yes. One of the passions that I also discovered is that I was a first generation college student, as well as the first in our family to be born in America. My parents were born in Cuba, and we didn't yet know the families. We're supposed to leave pretty much right after they unload your stuff from the car. From the car. So what I gathered from this is, all these time living with your parents and stuff like that, they show you around, they take you to school, to high school and support, but, going to college, nobody ever prepare you to know what college is like, what you need to do, how to navigate yourself around in school and stuff like that. So it was like a big change, a major change to say, what's the first step to take? How to approach certain things. Who do I talk to? Who do I ask for help? Stuff like those. Yeah. And that's for group one.
That was part of group one?
Yeah.
Okay. How about other members of it? I mean, Samantha, your group was giving you thumbs up and props, so I think you did a good job representing. And I know group one was just kind of getting into
We
the
did that.
groove.
We did that.
And group one was just getting into the groove. So Adrian, that was cool. Does anyone from group one want to add to what Adrian shared?
I believe Jalan had a really good example. I don't.
Jalan, do you want to share your example? Here we go. Yes. Okay. Giving a. Yes, the language felt that foreign. I called my mom at work and in tears and told her that I had to come home, that I made a terrible mistake. Yes, that sense of language, right? But it wasn't necessarily not understanding language from Spanish to English. It was the kind of language, right? This technical, academic words that for her were foreign. Like, who talks like that? Like, who talks like intersectionalities and who talks like that? So that's a good example. That okay, was like a little lost in the environment. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's another good example. What I like about the two examples, and also what Adrian, because Adrian offered a lot of information, but I want to bring your attention to what's important is for you to be able to pinpoint specific examples, right? Here's an example, language. Here's an example, the detachment, right? The sense of attachment and detachment. That you could point to specific examples in the essay to support an idea, right? To support this idea of culture shock, right? And it all right, cool. Does another group want to report? I know that I only know this because a group member by accident signed out and ended up in the room with me. We had a conversation, but I heard that Balang is going to report. Is that true?
No, Brian will go for that one.
Okay. All right, you put each other on the spot.
Yeah, he was writing it down. I got some, but he got more of it.
Okay, so you don't want to do it as a team then? You could report as a team.
No, he got everything there with him.
I don't know what group I was in. I don't know if my group ran or not. I don't think so, because nobody in my group was talking.
Right, David, you went
unless
out.
I couldn't hear.
Right, no, it was you in the group. But Brian, do you want to report back a little bit? You're still muted. It's still music. Okay. Let me see. Can I unmute you? Not working. All right. So maybe while Balang and Brian work out that Aaliyah has said that they were in group 2 and they'll speak for them. So Aaliyah, why don't you speak until we can get Brian to fix his audio.
Okay, hi. So what I was writing down for my group was the fact that her family was with her for a whole week. Now, on a regular college campus, your family usually don't stay with you; they leave you. So I really thought as a family orientated person that they stayed with her for that whole week to try to figure out stuff. They the daughter also. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The daughter also said that they had to watch other family do different things to see, to know what to get because they didn't know coming from a different country and stuff like that. So I thought that was a very good point. The other point was when she started, going through all the extra stuff, she didn't even notice that her family left her because she still felt their presence there with her. So I thought that was really cool that, well, not really cool, but it's like her family presence are so strong. Little girl, can you stop, please? Can you give me 1 minute, please? I'm so sorry.
Sure. But I think Aaliyah will be back in a moment, but I think it's interesting that sense of, well, first of all, we know like the same thing with children and pets. Suddenly when they think they're part of the class too, right? But I think that it's interesting that point, right, of that Aaliyah, I think, started making that I didn't really realize so much is the moment of the family leaving her, but in a way not, because what's the first thing she does when she's in a pickle? So I'm saying, Aaliyah, continue, but I was commenting on one of the last things you were saying, that interesting observation that in a way the family left her, but they didn't, because when she was in a pickle, when she had a problem, the first thing she did was family, right?
Yeah.
Call her mother.
the last point I would like to get to is, since they're not from there. So when the principal had made a joke and say for the parents to go, everybody else laughed, but they didn't get it because they didn't understand. They
Right.
couldn't relate because, they're not from there, so they didn't understand it as a family. So
Right.
that's pretty dope.
Yeah. One of the things that I'll share with everyone in the class about another thing that's different, right? And this is interesting because I think essays, right? And great job, Aaliyah. Thank you for reporting on your group. And thanks to everyone who's been reporting so far. But one of the things that's in I'm going to say this now only because I'll forget, is that so of course there's all the information that is in the essay, right, that you will read and you will follow and you can decipher, right? And decipher, right, they use indecipherable was a word to use. Indecipherable is you can't pull out, you can't make mean, you can't understand. But you can decipher, but there's stuff you can understand from it. But one thing, sometimes there's information that will impact it that is not there, right? And so one thing is where she comes from and where she went, right? So where she came from was physically where? Her family was where?
That was one of my actual points.
I mean,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, do it, because we got your sound on.
I'm so sorry. One of my examples was that, she came from Miami. Miami, I know off the top of my head, is very, 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 very Cuban. You can go around, you can speak Spanish to whoever. And she went from Miami to Cornell is here or Connecticut. It's in the Northeast. I know
it's in New York, but it's Ithaca, New York. So it's way upstate.
So I feel like that's a big culture shock right there, because it's like, she went from a very Spanish speaking place where, you get really comfortable and you don't need to there's not like these huge cultural differences between yourself and the people from the area. Whereas, she went to Cornell and then it's like completely different, I don't want to say white people, but more Americanized people that only speak English or things like that. Another one of my points was, I just had this up. Give me 2 seconds. I just lost it. Oh, another one of my points was that she said that her family followed her around as she visited the department offices during course registration. And I found it interesting because she starts off by saying that she was going to be one of the first people to graduate from college. And when your family doesn't know what the college experience entails, of course they're going to ask, oh, only 4 classes. Assuming that she was taking the semester too easily. I feel like plays heavily into their culture. Like, if you don't know what the college experience feels like, then of course it's going to seem a little bit foreign, and you're not going to know exactly like, oh, 4 classes. Well, that's actually a full course load.
Interesting, right? So the difference between high school culture and college culture, right? That is even that basic idea. Like I don't know if I remember my first semester that I registered in my college, I took class every day, right? Because I was used, and all my classes started at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? Because I was used to, in high school, you get up in the morning, you go to class. I didn't learn that you could schedule yourself to start classes at 3 or 4, that you could, do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday, and have Fridays off. You don't understand the culture of high school from college, at least for the most part. That's another good observation. Olang, you want to help him out? Did he do a good job, or?
Of course he did. Thank you, Brian. I was just about to text him.
You're gonna.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone who hasn't reported that? I think we've heard from 4 people. I know there was a silent group. I'm going to call you all, right? That was David and Nahom and Logan and I think I can't remember the other person that was in that room. But so I'm gonna say for the silent group, right? You should not be silent. That's the idea of a breakout room, right? The idea is that you have the opportunity to talk to other people about an idea. And so, of course, you've got me, right? You've got me to talk all the time about ideas, but sometimes things like, we already experienced two things that I didn't think about that came out of your groups, right? That in terms of the idea of the examples. So I think there is a great benefit, and it's also, I encourage you that we're in breakout rooms to talk and participate, because especially if this is your first semester in college, this is weird, right? And normally we would be in a classroom together. You could hear the other people talking in the other groups next to you as you get broken up into groups. But here we get put into these little quiet rooms, and so I want to encourage you to take advantage of that, because I'm sure you did good work on your own. You can certainly work on your own. At some point, you will be working on your own. But if you have the opportunity to work in groups, I want to encourage you to take take it.
Professor?
Yes.
Sorry, Celia. The silent group was actually in my group, but nobody wasn't saying nothing, so I kind of took it upon myself to say something for the whole time.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
okay.
gonna say Aaliyah was in my group too. I thought I saw her name.
Okay.
Excuse me, Professor.
Yes.
You know the link that you had sent in the discussions. Every time I clicked on it, it would work for a couple of seconds, and then it would immediately send me to some other site where I can't go back and go look at the story.
Oh, you're talking about how to take your parents to college?
Yes.
Okay.
You can just Google it like I did, and you can find the
I did the
article on
same thing.
Google.
It was doing the same thing for me. I just Googled it.
Oh,
Yeah,
all
you can
right,
just Google it.
all right.
Just
Right.
quick question, Professor. This is Ariel. I know you were saying that we had to do two things. I guess it was just like what we were discussing now, and then I guess you wanted us to write on like I guess like personal experience.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Do you want us to um submit that like on Blackboard, or do we talk about it now?
Yes, I'm going to talk about next steps with that. We have been going for about an
I'm
hour and a half.
sorry, really
Okay.
quick. What did you say we was gonna discuss next?
I'm going to talk about what to do with what we just did. We're going to talk about that next. But first, how are you doing? I know that you can take a break, and if you need to do that. But I'm also a human being, and I have to take a break. So why don't we take? Should we say like 10 minutes? Is that
Sure.
okay? 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So why don't we take a 10-minute break?
15.
We could do 15. 15 is normally what I would give. Okay. So we could do a 15-minute break. Who said that?
I don't know.
Okay. So why don't we take like a 15-minute break? So it's like 2 o'clock. So let's come back at 2:15, and then we'll continue. I'll talk about what the next steps are going to be, and then we'll do the second part of the class. Okay. So I'll see you all at 2:15.
No problem.
All right, enjoy your break, everybody.
Okay, and we're back. Thanks, Joshua. You're back. Okay, I do want to point out, I think a lot of times, hope everybody had a good break. I had a good break, a little break, little bio break, and got some water, and, which I left over here. Okay, so before we left off, I wasn't sure if everybody had participated or got to share, so I want to leave a little space for that, and also share Victor's encouragement. Victor, our class, the tutor in our class, was commenting on the observations and really celebrating everybody's brilliance and everybody's ability to be able to go into these stories and be able to pull out some texts and also the ideas from that are happening in the text. And then I want to read specifically what Victor said. It's working on your own. It's terrible for college. And everyone will all find that group chats, discussion boards, and group study sessions are crucial for achieving the best grades possible. So,
And if I may, I achieved the 4.0 at Hostel. Oh, can you hear me?
Victor, so you're unmuted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Oh, wait. I'm talking, but can you all hear me? Because I guess my earphones went on.
Oh, can you hear me now, Professor?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I achieved a 4.0. It's not me bragging. It's just from experience. I had a 4.0 at Hostels and at CCNY, and I was doing a bunch of other legal programs and stuff. The only way I survived was through group studies, was through talking with my peers, group chats. And like, participation is like the primary factor of like, of being an academic, right? No one publishes a study and then hides it for themselves. They publish a study so then their peers can look at it and review it and comment. So definitely talk with everybody and, try to encourage your peers to speak as well in the group chats and everything. I mean, the breakout rooms.
Cool. Thanks, Victor. Yeah. Thanks for your advice and for sharing from your own experiences, because I think we also learn from each other's experiences as well. So has a group not presented and want to share some of their own observations? Even if you wrote in silence as a group did, and you want to share something, the floor is open to you as well. Okay, well, I wanted us to do this exercise together because it's related. There's two things that are going to be related. I'm going to speak about. One is we're going to actually scaffold it out a little bit. Okay, let me just get this together. Okay, so we're gonna veer a little bit from the syllabus because I'm gonna talk a little bit about essays. So I want you to hold what the exercise we did today, because that's going to be an assignment that we're gonna switch out for the next one. So I want to talk about this. So today we're going to begin speaking about the elements of an essay. So I'm going to speak about that next. I'm going to pull up in the handout. I'm going to start looking at that. And so what I want you to do and is for us to be able to write we're going to write like a short essay, right? And so I want to talk about some assignments, and I'll talk about grading in the same breath, right? So in this class, you have all these mini writing assignments that you're doing, and they're kind of scaffolded, or they have a purpose to kind of lead you for the bigger assignments. In it, you will have some formal essays, which is one is going to be called the VIP essay that is coming up. And that is, I believe, due on the 28th. That's in 2 weeks from today. So your first formal essay will be due on the 28th. And that one gets a grade and there'll be an opportunity to revise it. So that has its own thing. Now, some of the smaller assignments, which is the one of the ones that is coming up, is also going to be a graded assignment, right? And there are going to be smaller graded assignments that, okay, so everybody else can hear me okay? Because one of the students is saying they.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes,
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I think they're going to sign out and come back in. So, so one of the other things is so there will also be smaller assignments that will be graded. And I think there's going to be several of those, but of those smaller assignments that are graded, 3 are the ones that will, your top 3 will count toward your grade. So you'll have a series of smaller assignments that will be graded assignments, but the top 3 of those smaller assignments go toward will be the ones that get integrated into your grade. Okay. So I'm gonna type and send it to you, but what I'm gonna ask you to write just a short essay, right? And at this point, we're gonna choose as many of the elements from the essay that we're gonna talk about today. We're gonna write a short essay, and it's basically gonna have an intro, and it's gonna have 2 paragraphs, right? And we'll talk about the introduction and the thesis statement in a little bit. But then you're going to have 2 paragraphs, and it's going to be based on how to take your parents to college, taking your parents to college essay. And so part of the I can tell you the 2 elements, the 2 things you need to talk about in it is you're going to speak about.
Wait, I'm so sorry. You said you wanted to write 2 paragraphs about how to take your parents to college.
I'm going to explain more. I mean, yes, you're close. You're close, but not completely there. So so you're going to write it's going to be a very short essay. It should be 3 paragraphs at this point, right? The first paragraph will be an introduction. The second paragraph is going to be 1 point that you're going to talk about 1 example of a culture shock difference, and then the third paragraph is going to be something in the essay that you relate to, right? So you're going to speak about 1 point from the essay and 1 point that's personal. And so, but we're going to talk about now the elements of an essay, and this is going to be an assignment that you will prepare for next week. So I'll go over the recalibration of the upcoming assignments. Okay. Yes. Thanks, Samantha. Okay, so I'm going to go to share my screen in a moment, and open up one of the handouts in our in-course contents. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so now I am in our class in Blackboard, and one of the handouts, the first handout, is writing an essay, right? This is the full packet, okay? And then there's another one called formatting your first page, which we'll get to in a moment, but first, the full packet. Okay, so second. Excuse me 1 second. All right, so bear with me with this poll, but I want to say, like, who has written an essay? And I'm going to send you a poll. And so number 1 means yes, you've written an essay, and number 2 means no. Who has written an essay? Number 1 means yes, number 2 means no. Did it, let me stop sharing a second. You all see it? Okay.
Where do we write our response at?
Say it again.
Where do we write the response at?
It should have popped up on your screen.
No, I didn't even
And I said choice 1, choice 2.
So
I need
choice
the
1,
option.
choice 1 is yes, choice 2 is no. 18 have responded.
I didn't get the pop-up yet.
Oh, it's interesting, is that?
We'll just respond in the
So,
chat.
yeah, you just respond in the chat, that's fine. So from people who are able to respond, you see the results? Right, so most of you have written an essay, right? So if you've written an essay, what are the 3 main parts of an essay? 1.
Introduction, the body, the conclusion.
Right. 3 sections of an essay: intro, body, and conclusion. That is going to be true if it's a short essay, right? Or if it's a long essay. You know, a research paper is a form of a long essay that has a research component. Articles have that, right? If you look at the even the editor, excuse me, the how to take, taking your parents to college. She does an intro, right? The question at the beginning of it, right? Nobody told her about the rules. She goes through the bodies of the essay. She gives you examples to support that disconnect, that cultural disconnect, all the way to the end of the story. And she does a conclusion. She wraps it up at the end saying, that, I could, let me just actually read it. I think I still have it open. The opening of her paragraph says, it was simple question, but we couldn't find the answer in any of the paperwork college had sent. How long was my family supposed to stay at orientation? This was 1999, so Google wasn't really a verb yet, and we were a low-income family, according to my new school, without regular internet access, right? That's the question, how long are my parents supposed to stay? And that is the kind of the couching, the idea of the knowledge, the culture conflict, etc., right? And then she goes through mapping out this essay, paragraph by paragraph, taking us continuously talking about relating to the idea of not knowing and how they're learning, right, as she goes through. And then the last paragraph of the essay is, my grades were the first of many elements of my new life for which they had no context and which they wouldn't understand. With each semester, what I was doing became for them as indecipherable as the paper topic. They didn't even know what question to ask, and that for me is the quintessential quality of first generation college student experience. It's not even knowing what you don't know, right? So it's this article about like not knowing almost, and discovering but not knowing. So that's kind of like the idea. They didn't know at the beginning, and still, unless you have gone through the experience, you won't know, right? It's something that you need to learn. So every essay that you're going to craft, every essay that you're going to read will have some kind of introduction at the beginning. And sometimes the introduction is just simply one paragraph. And most likely for all the essays you'll be writing, your essays will be one paragraph. Sometimes for longer essays, the introduction could be a little longer than a paragraph, right? So, so those are the 3 main pieces: intro, right? A body and a conclusion, right? So there's something in the introduction that is very important. What do you think that could be? What does the introduction of an essay contain that is very important?
The introduction of the topic.
Yes, the introduction is there. What would be the specific, there's a name for introducing the topic of the essay. It has something in front of it, and then it says statement.
Your thesis statement?
Bingo. Yes. So the introduction has your thesis statement in it. Okay. So I just wanted to do that. And before we share the screen and look at the handout, which is not here. It is here. Open it with Adobe because it lets me highlight things. Suppose when I open it. Okay. So I'm going to make this small so you don't here, so you can see all of us there. Okay. So the overview simply, this is a handout. So I went right into Blackboard. I pulled this up, right, and we began, right, even before looking at the handout, right. So essays are something that every student does, every student encounters. So you're going to be writing them in this class. If you take psychology, when you take English 111, when you take, you know, even some of the science classes, there is an element of an essay that you will begin writing. So it's part of your academic career. That is what is going to go through. So some of the basic essay structure as we're deciphering, there's a lot of this handouts, interesting handout that I worked to put together for all of you. But so the basic essay structure, you all said it, right? It's the introduction, which includes a thesis statement, right? And the introduction is directly and concisely about the topic you're about to write about, right? The introduction includes a clear and direct thesis statement. A thesis statement will be discussed in more depth later on, but do not start writing about names, dates, describing the synopsis, or work a miscellaneous fact that is padding, and it causes the reader to assume that you don't know much about the topic, or it becomes extraneous and detracts from your thesis statement. So now, it's true, I wrote all that stuff, but the introduction does need to include certain things in addition to the thesis statement, right? Okay, so here, if the topic is one based in fact, mention the basic facts, right? If the topic requires your opinion, state the premise on which you intend to base your argument. So, so in the introduction, one thing to keep in mind if we're writing an essay on how to, which you will, how to take your parents to college, what is the main topic? What is the main idea of that? You can unmute or chat.
The experience of being in college just with your parents.
Right. But specifically that shift in culture, right? That not knowing.
I'm sorry, Professor. I wanted to add something. Also, just her adapting and transitioning into different areas.
Yes, right. So and that's part of the activity that happens, but it's because of this culture shock, right? It's because of this culture shift, right? So there'll be an introduction to your essay, then there will be a body, and we talked about the body of, we just mentioned what it is, but your introduction would be, it's going to, it's where you get to explain and develop your ideas, right? So if you think of your essay that I'm asking you to write, and I'm asking you to write one, if any of you want to do a conclusion, that'll be great, okay? But I'm asking you right now, I want you to be able not right now, right? I want you to listen, but for your homework, right? For taking your parents to college, I want you to write an introduction, and then there's gonna be 2 points, right? One is an example of the culture shock inside of the, of the essay, and a point, something that's made in the article that you relate to, right? So there's going to be 2 paragraphs. So your thesis statement right, is going to at least include these two ideas that you're going to discuss. And we'll do a little exercise together in a moment, right? So, so that means your body paragraph, one paragraph will be about the example from the text of her culture shock, and the second paragraph is going to be about what you relate to from the essay. Okay, so that's with the body paragraph, depending on how many things that your thesis statement discusses, that will relate to the body paragraphs that you'll be writing. And then there is a conclusion, right? So the conclusion of your essay has to be based in fact, like not and merely sum up and round off with a confident sounding sentence or a few sentences. So the conclusion should not introduce new ideas, should not, depending on the type of essay, might it's essentially a summary or the final statement that you're making in support of an idea or an argument, right?
Kind of like summarizing it or closing it up.
Of what you just wrote, right? Of what you just wrote, exactly. So we're thinking right now, what the ideas we're going to talk about is that a basic essay that all of you should have encountered, at least in high school. And if you haven't, then you will encounter it here, and you'll be working on this, and it's going to be kind of like the model for your very first formal essay that you will write, is an essay that has 5 paragraphs, right? And the reason that we think of the 5 paragraphs is if we think about an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, if you only had 1 paragraph for each, that would be 3 paragraphs. But the idea is that you're going to be writing the prompt, right? The question is going to be designed so you have to come up with at least 3 things to write about in your, and there will have to be at least 3 body paragraphs. Okay, so as I mentioned, the introduction, right? The introductory paragraph. The introduction should start with a general discussion of your subject or lead to or include a very specific statement or your main point, the thesis statement, right? So again, the introduction is like, let me just stop sharing for a moment, right? So introduction is kind of like this. I'm going to shake your hand, right? And I need to give you some information, right? So if you're going to write, or you will write an article, right, for taking your parents to college, what do you think needs to be included in the introduction? What do you think you need? Just imagine the beginning paragraph, the very first paragraph of your essay. What do you think, what might need to be in there? Name one thing that needs to be in there.
You're introducing the story right there. So the storyline, right?
Well, yes, a synopsis would be good, right? A 2 or 3 sentence description of what the story is. What else might need to be there?
Main character or subject?
Well, yeah, if they're people, if it's important, right? If it's, then that you would need to do that. Let me take a look at the chat. Okay, think of what we spoke about earlier, the specific statement we discussed, Victor saying. Well, I'm going to say with Samantha, what Samantha.
I'm sorry. Is it about, are you like the culture maybe?
Well, that will be part of it. So let me just say, this is the introduction. So 1, you talked about something like you have to tell us what the story is about, right? So a 2 or 3 sentence synopsis, right? A really brief summary, right? Of what the idea, the main idea would be a part of that, right? So if you're going to talk about that, this is an article about the culture shock of a young person going to college for the first time. So something that would need to include that. You would need to include the title, right? I know it may seem obvious.
And the author, right?
And the author. Yes, thanks, Samantha. So the introduction should always include the title and the author, right? Right? As soon as possible, right? And then also a synopsis of it, at least so we give it some context, right? And then your thesis statement, which is what your essay is going to be about, right? Not necessarily what the story is about, or the article is about, or the essay is about, but what your essay is about. And your essay is going to be about, your short essay or your mini essay is going to be about identifying 1 example of culture shock and 1 example of something that you relate to in the story, right? So that would be taking the shape of your thesis statement for how to take your parents to college, right? So let me go back to the handout. I'm sharing this. Yes.
I have a question. When I was reading, I mean, I never wrote an essay. I am one of those that I never did it. I'm learning. Um, but I heard something about like a hookup, like something that you have to um, say to catch the reader's attention. So when do you put that?
So Miguel, I'm going to tell you right now, don't worry about a hook. They say, oh, don't, it's okay. Yes, a hook is important. They talk about a hook is kind of like a line or sentence that really that wants to bring the reader into the story, right? Something that could be provocative, something that could raise a question, could be a hook. But for right now, I want us to not worry about the hook, right? You know, like a hook for it. A lot of times that's true of creative nonfiction, right? And 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 also fiction a lot of times, like something at the beginning to kind of get you in there. But I want you to think of, instead of a hook, I want you to think about the thesis statement, right? And the thesis statement is the main idea of your essay, right? It's what what you're going to be writing about. And you're setting the reader up, right? You're preparing the reader so that they understand, they at least have a sense of what it is that you're going to be writing about, right? And sometimes it could, if it's an argument, it might be a position that you take, right? Vaccines are good for the, and you know, for dealing with it, right? That's a position, right? Because we know that some people have different opinions. That might be part of your thesis statement, right? Like if it's an argumentative essay, but if it's an expository essay, which is basically the kind of essay you're going to write, it's going to be sharing. You're going to make 2 points, and then you're going to support those 2 points. You're going to explain and support those 2 points in the body paragraph. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Okay, so let me just go back to the document. So we have the introduction, and we talked about some of the elements that if you're writing about an article, that you would have to name the title of the article, that you have to name the author of the article, that you have to give an idea. Just imagine that it's not your professor that's reading it, but like your, you know, neighbor's 12-year-old that's going to read it, and they're not in the class. They've never read How to Take Your Parents to College. They don't know, you know, anything like that. So the introduction is really trying to couch it, give it context, and those would be the 4 aspects that you would need for your essay, right? Title of the work from which you'd be writing about, the author, right? A synopsis, like a 2 or 3 sentence summary, and the thesis statement, right? And even though I've said it in that order, it doesn't have to be in that order, right? But that's that could be it. You know, it could be a different order, but that's a good order to follow. So your body paragraph, right? So the different body paragraphs, right? Each paragraph will have a topic sentence. An example would be that if you are writing, you know, the first topic would be of your first paragraph for your homework assignment, after you've constructed, you know, How to Take Your Parents by Janine Coppoc-Rousset is an essay or an opinion article that appeared in the New York Times. It discusses a person's first time going to college. It shows a big culture shock. It shows this in the essay. We follow a college student and her family as they, whatever, you know, whatever it is that you're going to find as your summary. And then your thesis statement might sound something like this. In the essay, there are several examples of a culture shock. One is when she goes to the cafeteria with her parents to eat. Another example, in addition to examples of culture shocks, there are several elements that I relate to personally. And one example is when she calls her mother on the phone to ask for advice, right? So I gave you 2 examples. One example is when she goes to the cafeteria with her family to eat. Another example that you relate to is the example of her, what did I say? Of her calling her mother for help, right? So then your first paragraph is going to be about that first idea. And then you would say your topic sentence would say that in the essay, She goes to eat with her family in the cafeteria. That is right. That's you're couching it. In it, normal. The other students were not with their parents. She shows up with her family. The family puts the mother sets up a table. Da da da. All of these things are things that they're used to in her home life, and the culture shock or the culture shift is that in college, that all the other students are on their own. Right? Me, I'm just me speaking quickly. Then the next paragraph that you're going to write will be something like, there are several things in which relate to my own life. One example is when she goes to call her mother when she needs help. In the essay, the college student had trouble understanding an assignment. She had these large words like theoretical statement that she didn't understand. So one of the things she does for help is immediately call her mother for support and advice. This relates to me because I always go to my father for advice, my big brother for advice. And normally I never think of going to other sources to get help, but I get help from a family member. And this is one of the ways in which we relate and connect to each other. So so those would be the the idea of the body paragraph. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Right. So the body paragraph will be talking specifically about the topics. Right. I'm going to speak a little bit more about your formal essay because it'll do that. Now, I know I'm jumbling things, but I think it'll help as we're going along. Right. So your first formal essay is called the VIP essay. In your assignment about Majora Carter, I was asking you to think about people that have made an impact on you. Right. So it could be somebody who made an impact, but VIP, what does VIP stand for? Anybody? When you hear the word VIP, what does that stand? Those are initials for what?
I guess
Very important, sir.
yeah.
Yes, that's it, David. Good, Ariel. So VIP is very important person. So your VIP essay is going to ask you to think about a very important person, right? And you have an assignment that's due that's going to say, identify somebody who is very important to you in your life and name 3 characteristics that describe them, right? So the prompt is saying you have 3 characteristics to describe. So the first characteristic, the second characteristic, and the third are going to be named as part of your thesis statement. And then in the order in which they're named in your thesis statement, they're going to be described in each body paragraph. So the first body paragraph will describe one characteristic. The second body paragraph will talk about the second characteristic, and the third body paragraph will contain the third characteristic, right? And the final paragraph will be your conclusion, right? So if you think of the thesis statement as they also call it the roadmap, right? That it says, I'm going to talk about this, this, and this in the essay, right? If you're doing it a 5-paragraph essay with 3 topics, right? I'm going to talk about this, this, and this, A, B, and C. And the first body paragraph will talk about A, the second body paragraph will talk about B, the third body paragraph will talk about C, right? So that's how you begin constructing an essay. So if we just do a rewind a little bit and say the introduction, I'm going to name what article I'm talking about. I'm going to name the author. I'm going to say something, 2 or 3 sentences, so that somebody who did not read the article, they understand it. And usually the main idea or the main topic of the article will be included inside of that description. And then your thesis statement says, I'm going to discuss this and this. I'm going to talk about an experience that she had that was culture shock, and I'm going to explain about one item from the essay that I relate to, right? So that's one of the ways to begin understanding the introduction and the body paragraphs that follow it, okay? I'm going to go back. Are people on the train? Did I give you that analogy of being on the train or left on the platform?
I left on the platform.
You're on the platform? Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm just joking. Question.
Okay.
All this is in one essay?
Yes, this is all in one essay. These are the elements. These are the elements of an essay. Okay, so no, not the VIP and the how to take your character. There's separate assignments, right? But I was using the VIP one so you can see that's coming up, but you can start seeing how you're going to organize and structure it, right? So let's go back to the handout because we're in the middle of still explaining the elements. But if you're all still if you're on the subway with me, if you're on the train, we're good. If anybody honestly is saying, oh, hold on a second. Yes, no, I'm going to be assigning one. I'm going to be assigning one, but you're going to be doing many, right? So if you think of the body paragraphs, right? The body paragraph should include a topic sentence, right? That means the main point of that particular paragraph, right? Quote text and concrete details, like a specific example from the work to provide evidence of your topic sentence, right? And that supports your thesis. Commentary, your explanation and interpretation of the quote, and then a concluding sentence that that wraps up. So if you haven't written an essay like Miguel, some of the stuff is like abstract, and I'm just going to say bear with me a little bit because we'll look at an example, and that hopefully will be clearer, right? And then the conclusion is the concluding paragraph, and in this case, you restate your main points, right? You paraphrase, you summarize inside of your concluding paragraph what your essay is about, right? Again, you don't introduce new ideas. It's not coming up with new information. It's really summarizing what you've done. So those of you who learned visually, right? This is the intro, right? And you have a general background. Again, we're talking about an essay that's going to be 5 paragraphs, which will be the assignment for your first essay, formal essay, which is due in 2 weeks, not before the next class. And then your each body paragraph 1, 2, and 3, and that you say again they each will follow, and then there's the conclusion, right? That's just another way of what I wrote up there, right? So let's go into writing a thesis statement. So I'm gonna pause for a minute, and I'm gonna swing down. And yes, to this page here. So at the very end, there is an example of an essay, right? And so the title of it is called The Frustrations of Camping in a Tent, right? The Frustrations of Camping in a Tent. So in here it says, each year, thousands of people throughout the United States choose to spend their vacations camping in the great outdoors. Depending on an individual's sense of adventure, there are various types of camping to choose from, including log cabin camping, recreational vehicle camping, and tent camping. Of these, tent camping involves roughing it the most. With the proper planning, and the experience can be gratifying. Even with the best planning, however, tent camping can be extremely frustrating experience due to uncontrolled factors such as bad weather, wildlife encounters, and equipment failures. Okay, so this is the introduction to this essay. And we know it's about the frustrations of camping in a tent, right? That's what it's going to be about. If you have never gone camping in a tent, let me stop my sharing for a minute. Okay, so if you've never gone camping in a tent, this essay should be able to explain some things to you about it, right? I went camping. It is not my thing. I did not have any of these problems. I am not a camping person. But going camping means you go to some wooded area, you bring a tent so you can be protected from the elements, and you put your tent up and you live inside of this tent for a day or 2 or a week, whatever it is, and you do that. So it's talking about frustrations, things of the challenges that happen with tent camping, right? So I'm going to share my screen again so we could take a look at it. Okay, so it starts out with a general statement. Each year, thousands of people throughout the United States have to spend their vacations on camping in the great outdoors. Depending on an individual's sense of adventure, they're giving you more. There's different types of camping: log, recreational, and tent. Of these, the tent camping involves roughing it the most. That means the less refined conditions. And with the proper planning and experience, they can be gratifying. But sometimes with the best planning, even with the best planning, however, tent camping can be used as an extremely frustrating experience due to uncontrolled factors such as bad weather, wildlife encounters, and equipment failures. Okay, so this last sentence they set up as the thesis statement, right? So this essay is going to be about the frustrations in camping a tent, but it's going to focus on 3 things: bad weather, wildlife encounters, and equipment failures. So if bad weather is the first one, what do you think the first body paragraph is going to be about?
The bad weather.
Right. So if we scroll down, this first paragraph, right, the first body paragraph should be about bad weather, right? And if we look at it, it says nothing can dampen the excited anticipation of camping more than a dark, rainy day. Okay, so the first sentence sets it up, right? And that's what they call as a topic sentence. So the topic of this section is going to be the bad weather, how bad weather affects it, right? The second item they list is wildlife encounters. So what would the second body paragraph be about?
Like encountering with the animals over there, like all that stuff.
Yes. So if we go to the second body paragraph, I'm going to scroll to the second one. It starts here, right? Because there's an indentation. Another problem likely to be faced during a camp trip is run-ins with wildlife, which can range from mildly annoying to dangerous, right? So they set it up that now we know the second paragraph is going to be about wildlife. And if you read it, it says minor inconveniences include mosquitoes and ants. The swarming of mosquitoes, so it's talking about what kind of wildlife. Then it goes on to talk about, you know, bears and other kinds of things, right? And then, of course, you've got the pattern by now. If you look at the thesis, the last one is about equipment failures. And so the last paragraph, that's the second, we can see here, and where's the next indentation? Here, right, is going to be about equipment failures. So perhaps the least serious camping troubles are equipment failures, right? So, so you could see the kind of pattern, right? And then here's the conclusion. The last paragraph is the conclusion. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the top again. So if you are, it is 2:58. Okay, bring it in for a landing. So this part here of the 5-paragraph essay is we said crafting a thesis statement, which has an introduction, right? Then we talked about body paragraphs, and then we talked about a conclusion. So stop sharing for a moment. We have like 15 minutes. So we're going to do a couple of things for between now and next class, right? So one assignment you're going to have is you're going to be, I'm going to send you the prompt. So you're going to have to, about the how to write an essay, how to taking your family to college. So I'll send you that separately, right? That's not going to be due until Sunday of this week, until Sunday. I'm going to give you a handout as well. Realizing we won't do it today, but we'll do that. So we'll just do these two things. And the other one is going to be, it's going to be talking about how to write a summary. And let me do this differently. Okay, so you will have two things to do. I'm changing my mind. So we're going to do that, how to write, taking your parents to college, we'll do that. And then the second thing we'll do is the assignment that's on there about identifying somebody and naming 3 characteristics of them, because I think that'll be a better setup. We'll work on summary the next time we come together. I'll send you you'll have the handout. I'll just send you that as a handout to read the handout and to be prepared when we come to class to having read the handout with it. That's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna recalibrate the assignments and I'll send you an email with them. Victor, you have your hand up.
I just wanted to remind everybody that the Writing Center is open, available, and with you guys receiving your handouts and your prompts early, it's always best to kind of receive your help early too. So if you guys need help building an outline or even thinking of how to construct a thesis statement, do know and do feel encouraged that you can seek out that help. And the Writing Center is wanting to help you. I am wanting to help you. So definitely stop by, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody.
And right now the Writing Center is it just virtual, or is it virtual and live?
Yeah, so you can do a virtual meeting where you and I will meet face to face and have a voice call. And then you can also do an e-tutoring session where you send me a document, a prompt, or anything, and I leave comments and concerns. I won't revise it for you, but of course I can talk to you about grammar and how to fix the grammar in the essay. But by comments and concerns, I mean stuff like you can improve the elaboration here, or maybe you can explain this idea in more depth, or maybe this is too much summary, maybe we need less summary. Stuff like that are comments and concerns.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so that's a great resource that we have here with the Writing Center. I want to say also the Writing Center has special workshops that they give, periodic workshops, and sometimes they may be a workshop about constructing a thesis statement. It may be a workshop on different components of writing an essay. There may be different workshops where they will have folks read something, read an article, and then they'll have group discussions on how to read it. So as those workshops become available, I will also share them with you, because those are great opportunities to also sharpen and develop your reading and writing skills.
Last week, actually, we did a workshop on constructing thesis statements. And if anyone wants to receive those documents and receive kind of like, you know, the presentation, totally do so. I would love to give it to everyone. And also you guys will be seeing me in some of these workshops. So definitely be encouraged, feel encouraged.
Victor, is there a way to do that anyway, to just send it to everybody, the constructing a thesis statement?
Yeah, I can do that. Let me speak with Ashley, and then I can get everyone to receive it. Okay. And I can do it myself.
Great. So that one, and that way, and it's a presentation, so it's another way to supplement what we're doing here in class, and also the handout that I've given to you. Well, it's on your Blackboard. Okay, so let me just be clear. So there'll be 2 assignments between now and the next class. Well, kind of 3. One is just reading. So one will be to do, send you the prompt so you can begin it, right? And I think it's I'm going to say do the best you can, because that's going to give us an opportunity to then continue the discussion on before you have to do your formal essay, right? And then the second part of the second assignment will be for you to identify an important person in your life and to write down 3 characteristics of that person, right? And that's setting you up for your first formal essay. And then the third thing is the handout that I'm going to upload. It's how to write a summary, so that you'll read that, and then we'll write a summary together in class the next time we're together. We'll read an essay, and then you'll write a summary of the essay. Okay. So any questions, thoughts, observations?
Yes. Due dates on both of the essays. I think I missed it. I know one is due Sunday. When the other one is due?
The other one is going to be due by class. So one is going to be due Sunday, one is going to be due Monday night. So the essay one is going to be due Sunday, and the next day is the VIP, to identify one person and write down 3 characteristics.
So that's Monday, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Professor, I wanted to ask one more time again about the writing that we're supposed to do just now. Is that part of our homework?
Yes. So the writing that you did in your group sessions, the identifying, like I said in the group session, at least 3. Some of you got 3, some of you got 2, some of you got to get to do 1. Identify 3 examples of the culture shift or the culture shock in the essay that the author experienced, right? So those would, I usually ask you to write them down clearly, because this is you're beginning the outlining for the assignment. And then the other one that some of you got to, but most didn't get to, is identifying something that you relate to personally. That'll be the second part of that prompt that you need to write about. So what you wrote about today is just your notes. You don't have to upload them, but you're going to incorporate them into your essay.
Okay.
Okay. More questions?
So wait, yes. The 3 things about the essay we just read, that's another whole thing we got to do.
No, basically now if you got 3, you have to pick one, because your prompt is going to ask you for one example from the story and to talk about it, right? And then the second one is going to be, the second part is going to be, the second thing you have to answer is your own, something you relate to personally.
I did that one, all right. So we got to upload that? Oh, that's for class, next class.
No, you're going to have to craft it into an essay. So you need to look at my assignment. And the assignment is going to tell you in essay format, only using an introduction and the body paragraphs, respond to this. So then when you write, what you're going to submit and you're going to upload is going to be 3 paragraphs. One is going to be an introduction, right? And we talked about what an introduction needs to have, particularly if for this one. So you have to have the title of the work, right? Not your title of the essay, the name of the article, the author, a synopsis, and your thesis statement, right?
Wait, the author to the article of the taking my thing to college?
Yes.
Okay. So that's for the you naming so many things to do. I'm a little confused.
Okay. Well, I think well, definitely I'll send you all an email by tomorrow with all of the instructions. And if you have any questions, certainly write back to me. Let me know. And I think I might add something else. I just had not for you to do, for me to do. So today's Tuesday. So let's say by like Thursday morning, I'm going to send you I just thought of maybe doing a video. So that's why I may add a video to it, to be a video specifically about that I will add to all of it. So I may do that. Okay, so just keep in mind there will be 2 assignments due before we meet, and one is going to be writing about how to taking your parents to college, and one is going to be the other one is a shorter example. Just have to find a very important, identify somebody who's important, and write down 3 characteristics to describe. Is that any helpful?
Those 2 things, those is the 2 things you want first, right?
By next class, and one's going to do Sunday night, and one's going to be due Monday night.
And we submitting those in the Blackboard, right?
Correct.
Okay. Is it like a file we attach and just submit, or is it going to be like a thread we can write in and submit it?
One, it's going to be one that you attach. The one I'm going to ask you the how to take your parents is going to be that you attach, and the other one you can type in.
Okay. All right. So the personal, the person about your life, that one important person in your life, that's the type, right?
Yes.
Okay.
More questions?
No.
Yes, and Victor, oh yeah, basically we use the examples we developed during our breakout rooms for your upcoming assignment, right? That's what Victor's adding. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat. Okay. All right, and we can definitely, hang out for a minute after we're done. Stay and speak with you. The same goes for anybody. If anybody needs to, has a question and wants to stay a little bit after class, after this class, I don't, I'm available to do that. So when somebody has requested to speak with me after class, so I have one person. Okay.
So, Professor, basically everything is just basically self-explanatory in the Blackboard, right?
Oh, will be, because taking your parents to college will be on Blackboard. So I'm going to add that to the Blackboard, and the other one will be on there. The assignment will be there, and then I'm also going to send an email to everybody, also explaining it. And if I feel ambitious, I might do a video.
Okay.
So you can all see a video.
Okay.
Okay. I won't let the video hold up the other stuff, because the other stuff is more important to get to you. But I've done videos sometimes explaining like mini lessons, and so. All right, you don't. Okay, you don't. Okay, cool. All right. All right, then, if there are no more questions, then I will see you all next week. Have a good weekend and a good week, and we'll circle up next time.
See you,
Thank you,
Professor.
everybody. Have a great one.
Professor, I just had one last thing.
Sure.
When do you normally have yes, sir. When do you normally have office hours?
Yes, it's on. I think it's on Tuesday and Monday. And let me look at and tell you 1 second. So the normal, the regular office hours, and just always let me know if you're coming because I don't like being alone.
Absolutely.
It's Mondays between 2 and 3 and Wednesdays in the morning at 10:30 to 11:30. But if those times do not work for you, just let me, like here in class, or you could send me a private message, say when you're available, or send me an email, and then we can set up a time. So like you say, like if after classes works for you, maybe before this class works, or maybe in the evening, I'm open to, within reason, to meet with folks in the evening.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Okay,
Have a good
Brian.
afternoon.
All right, you too. Take care.
Professor?
Yes, this is Brian again. Oh no, no.
No, Nahom.
Oh yes, Nahom, you're gonna wait, or you can ask me now.
No, it's not. It's about the work. I have a question. It's not anything personal.
Okay.
So for the 2 assignments, for one of them, you want us to make a prompt, like just start like on the essay, or is it like what is it like?
Yes.
Okay, and then for the other assignment, can you repeat the other assignment again?
Yeah, the VIP assignment, that one is in the syllabus. Basically, I want you to identify somebody who you feel is important in your life,
Okay.
and to write down 3 characteristics that describe them.
Okay, that's so it's both. Are you gonna put them on Blackboard or what? Because like where are we supposed to
Yes.
submit it? Okay,
Yes.
you haven't put it yet, so you're gonna do that like tomorrow.
I don't think they're on Blackboard yet. I know that taking your parents is not on Blackboard, but
And then you'll make it like separate assignments, correct?
correct. There'll be a
Okay,
separate
perfect.
Place for you to upload one, and then a separate place for you
A
to
separate
upload
place.
the other.
Perfect. I was just confused. I got it now, 100%. All right, thank you. All right, have a good one.
Okay.
Do you think it'll be fine if I just kind of give you my my concerns, or right now?
1 second.
You have like a minute? Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, I see people still here. I'm sorry. Something crazy, anyways. It's small.
Let me just move. Damon, I'm going to put you in the breakout room in case you.
It's nothing too like private. Just yeah.
Okay, good.
All right, awesome. So next week on Monday, I'm going to Colorado for the week. I'll be back on the 27th, I believe. I just want to let you know now. I'm gonna send you an email today. Hopefully I do it by today. Hopefully I don't forget. I have a packed schedule at the center, so I may forget, but I'll definitely send it to you by tomorrow. But yeah, so I'll be gone for next week. I just want to let you know.
Oh,
I know we
okay.
don't meet next week, but I still thought it'd be good to let you know. I don't know.
think we do meet next week, don't we?
I thought we. Let me look at the syllabus. My bad. I thought I read it correctly, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah, I hope I'm not mistaken.
It's
I mean,
okay.
this semester is nuts with the days off and the days.
Mhm.
Let's see, because I know we didn't meet last week. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, that's it. We do meet next week, the 21st. We're on.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, but
Okay, so you just won't be in class. You'll be in Colorado.
yeah.
Okay, well, we're in Colorado.
So right now I'll be staying in Denver, but hopefully I'll be like traversing the state and like I don't know, seeing different places too.
Cool. Yeah, I've been to Denver and to Boulder. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, have a great trip.
Thank
and
you.
then if you could do those office hours to them, to the students, that'd be great. And the
Mhm.
thesis, that'd be terrific if you could do that.
Of course. Yeah. All right, Professor. Thank you
All right.
and have a great one.
All right, Victor. Take care.
Take care.
So, Damien, I don't know if you have a question, but we ended class. Okay. All right. All right. Have a good week, and I'll send an email to everyone.